Thank you for joining us today for Louisiana Department of Education, Division of Nutrition Support, CACFP, Let's Learn. We're going to be discussing milk and allergies today. So we have a very hot topic for today. And we do have a lot more slides than normal, so I do expect this to take the full hour today. I'll do my best to keep it to an hour. As usual, we're beginning with our non-discrimination statement, and the link to provide that to you all is on this slide. You will be receiving links to this entire slide deck, to the recording of today's presentation, and also to some additional handouts that I'm going to include for you guys. I'm hoping to have that out by Friday of this week. Zoom meeting preparation. I know we guys have, I know everyone has seen this, so please keep these in mind. So let's begin. Crediting milk in the child and adult care food programs. This updated information is hot off the press. On October 28th of this year, USDA updated the nutritional requirements for fluid milk and fluid milk substitutions in the CACFP. And this is policy memo CACFP 102. This is the first policy memo for fiscal year 2025. And this is where this presentation is pulled from today. So with this slide deck, when you download it, you will be able to click on this link below and this link right here, and it will take you to this policy memo on the USDA website. So you will have all of this information right here at your fingertips. So what this memo does is it clarifies who may sign medical statements. It provides an update for the measurements, the units of measurement for vitamins A and D. It includes a table of the nutrition requirements for milk substitutes. It provides information related to temporary and ongoing unavailability of milk. It adopts a standardized terminology calling, labeling CACFP providers and sponsors as institutions or facilities. And it recognizes information throughout this memo and clarifies it a good bit. So we're going to dive right in. Crediting milk in the CACFP. As we all know, fluid milk is a component for a reimbursable meal. Okay. Institutions and facilities do have the option to serve fluid milk as one of the two components of a snack. However, the other required component must not be a beverage when fluid milk is served. Okay, so for example, you can't serve fluid milk and juice. Okay, you could serve fluid milk and crackers. You could serve milk and fruit or something like that. It just can't be two fluids as that snack. So, and fluid milk can also be served as a beverage on cereal or a combination of both. So the milk that you pour on cereal can count. That amount can count as for that requirement for that meal. So fluid milk must be pasteurized and it must meet all state and local health department standards. So what makes up fluid milk? This can be fat-free skim milk. This can be 1% milk. This can be 2% milk. But I want to caution you, this is only during the transition for the 24th and 25th month of age. Okay? So that as you are transitioning your 1-year-olds to a low-fat milk from whole milk, you have that a 1-month period from the 24th to the 25th month of age where you can substitute in 2% milk if you so desire. It is not required. That is an option that you have. Whole milk, okay? Whole milk, we know we serve whole milk to 12 months to 23 months of age. And below 12 months is breast milk or iron fortified formula. So lactose-free milk, lactose-reduced milk. And all of these options down here, cultured milk, buttermilk, these specialty types of milk, acidophilus milk, kefir milk, all of these can count as fluid milk in the CACFP. Goat's milk may also be served in place of cow's milk as long as it meets the state and local standards for fluid milks. Again, your age-specific requirements for fat content and flavored versus unflavored do apply, okay? So if these are all of these types of milk are allowed, but some of them, again, are only allowed during specific ages. So please keep that in mind. Let's jump right in to the question at hand. I know everybody is wanting to know about flavored milk. This is unchanged, and I just wanted to clarify this and let you guys know that it is, this is not changed. So children's ages 1 through 5 cannot have any type of flavored milk, okay, or flavored non-dairy beverages. And that cannot be claimed for reimbursement. So flavored milk contains all the nutrients found in unflavored milk. Okay, this includes both commercially prepared milk or plain milk that someone is flavoring themselves with syrup or powders. They typically contain more sugars. Okay, and to better align with the dietary guidelines recommendation, this is why it is not allowed for children 1 through 5 years old. Okay. We do get a lot of confusion to our office because I know some other programs do allow flavored milks. Okay. For example, school lunch. Okay. So some children, younger than 5, if they're in a school, and they're on the National School Lunch Program, that is allowed for them. They do have different guidelines than CACFP. But for CACFP, children 1 through 5 years of age, again, are not allowed flavored milk or non-dairy flavored beverages. So at 6 years old is when flavored milk comes into play. So 6 years and older and adults, okay, because we do have some adult daycares on our program, and I will be speaking about guidelines directly related to them in a little bit. So if flavored milk is served to children 6 years old and older, it must be 1% or skim, okay? And USDA encourages all institutions and facilities to consider choosing milk that are lower in added sugars. Okay, so do I have any questions about this? Because I really don't want to leave any wiggle room. Most of you guys that are on this presentation today or child care centers and early child care centers. So this is not a change. You could not serve flavored milk before this update, and you still cannot serve flavored milk after this update. Let's talk about fluid milk for disability reasons. Okay. I am going to skip ahead and we're going to come back to this slide in a minute. And I just want to go over some definitions of what we're going to be talking about. A medical disability is a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. These could be medical conditions such as diabetes, celiac disease, a swallow disorder, or failure to thrive, but it is not limited to these specific examples listed here. Food allergies, our second one, is considered a disability as it falls under a physical impairment. And an allergy means that proteins in foods trigger an abnormal immune response in people that are allergic to that protein or allergic to that food. So again, food allergies by USDA definition or considered a medical disability. Now, how's that different from a food intolerance? A food intolerance occurs when the body just cannot digest or metabolize a certain food component. And then what about texture modification? This is when a food is mechanically altered to a consistency that may help an individual consume a meal. Okay. For our adult care centers, this could mean someone who's having some type of swallowing difficulty. Maybe they've had a stroke or a TIA, or this could even be some reflux in infants. So, and that's an example of a texture modification. So, back to fluid milk modifications for disability reasons. I'm going to read this and I'm going to point out and highlight a few things. Program operators are required to provide fluid milk substitutions requested due to a disability. Okay? And remember, allergies fall under the classification of a disability. To receive reimbursement when a modified meal related to a disability does not meet the meal pattern requirements, we require USDA and state requires a medical statement signed by a licensed healthcare professional or a registered dietitian, and you need to keep that on file. The update to this requirement is that now a registered dietitian can sign and provide that documentation. So this really hasn't changed, other than that qualification that a registered dietitian may now sign these statements. So therefore, the medical statement is required if the milk substitute requested does not meet the nutritional standards of cow's milk as described above. That medical statement needs to provide the information about the participant's dietary restrictions, okay, such as food or beverages that are not allowed that they're allergic to. And it needs to state the recommended alternatives if there are any appropriate. So let's stop right here. For example, when you receive a statement from the doctor's office or any licensed dietitian or medical provider licensed in the state of Louisiana, it's going to say, little Johnny cannot have no cow's milk. He is allergic to it. You need to substitute with this, this, or this. That would be an acceptable statement to have because it says that they're allergic, what they're allergic to, and what would be some recommended substitutions, okay, on behalf of that, some appropriate substitutions. So this next statement allows a parent or guardian or an adult participant on behalf of an adult participant to supply one or more of the components of a reimbursable meal for a participant with disability, as long as the program operator provides at least one required meal component. So you are required to provide a substitution, okay? You, as program operators, you cannot require any parent or guardian or adult participant on behalf of another adult to provide the required meal components. Okay. If they offer to provide that, that is great. They can provide that and you can still claim that meal. You can still get reimbursement for that meal. This is why in kid care, you would toggle that little switch to under the child information, you would state that the child has an allergy. You would input that there is a medical, you would click the box that there is a medical statement on file. And you would put the source of where that is coming from. Is it center provided? Is it parent provided? That's how that all plays in with kid care. Okay. So as an institution, you are required to make, to provide reasonable accommodations for this allergy. Okay. If the parents want to bring that in, or the guardians want to bring that in, they may do so. You can even ask them to bring it in. However, you cannot require them to bring it in, and you can't charge them anything additional, okay, to do that. Any questions? I want to take a little, just pause right here. I want to know if you guys have any questions, or if I can explain something again, or if I'm being clear. The high point, what I really wanted to let you guys know is that if, say, you find an almond milk or a soy milk or a rice milk or a pea milk, it may not, and the child is allergic to cow's milk, that milk may not meet, okay, may not meet all the requirements to be an acceptable substitution. Most of them don't have the required amounts of protein that cow's milk have. However, with a medical statement, with a doctor's note, you still claim that meal. Okay, whether the parents bring it or whether you provide it. And again, you can't require the parents to bring that in, and you can't charge them any more money if you do provide it, because you're on this program. Okay, I am not seeing any questions, so I'm going to continue on. And remember, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, just please type them in the chat. I have Tammy on with me today. I have a few other individuals from our office on this presentation today, and we are all watching the chat. We went over these definitions. Again, as program operators, you must make reasonable modifications to the meal, okay? And that includes providing special meals at no additional charge. Program operators concerned, if there's any concern, if there was anything that you would like to speak specifically to one of us about, please call us, okay? Don't guess. Please don't ask anyone else, because they might be on a different program than you. Please don't try to follow the school lunch, breakfast, or lunch menus that are posted or printed in papers, because those are different programs. But please ask us at the state agency. We are more than happy to provide you with clarifications, questions, and answers whenever you need. So let's talk about adult participants on this slide, okay? So all of my early learning centers and daycares, this is not for you. This is for an adult daycare that is participating in the child and adult care food program. And we have at least one of those on today. So institutions or facilities may follow meal pattern flexibilities as they relate to the fluid milk for your adult daycare participants only. Okay. These flexibilities, these are not required. This is if you choose to do so. A serving of milk is optional at supper. Okay. For adult participants. USDA encourages to serve water as a beverage for adult participants when fluid milk is not served at supper, and you're still able to claim that meal. And once a day, 6 ounces by weight or 3/4 cup volume of yogurt may be served in place of an 8-ounce serving of fluid milk for adult participants only. The yogurt, again, we have sugar limitations. Yogurt must not be served as a meat alternate in the same meal, and the yogurt cannot contain any more than 12 grams of added sugars per 6 ounces. And that allows it to be an acceptable substitute. Any questions from our adult participants? Continuing on. Let's talk about medical accommodations, personal preferences, and religious accommodations. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive. So I hope you guys are ready. So, accommodations for preferences. If you have a parent that is requesting a particular type of milk or a particular type of food, and it is not an allergy, it is not a part of their religious beliefs, and that is not a part of their civil rights, you may request or require parents or guardians to provide that substitution based on their preference. Okay, this is unchanged from our previous trainings. So, and a lot of times you guys know if it becomes a hardship to them, then their preferences might change over time, let's say. So again, if it's just a preference, you may request or require, as your business owner, you can require your parents or guardians to provide those substitutions based on their preference. Religious reasons. Parents or guardians have to document any type of substitution or request based upon a religious reason. And it has to state in writing what foods cannot be served for religious reasons, and what the acceptable substitutions would be within the equivalent component category. Okay, and all of the foods to be substituted must be creditable. Okay, so that parent or guardian would write the statement that due to our religious beliefs, we don't eat beef. Substitute with chicken, turkey, tofu, some other type of food that falls within that meat category. Okay, that would be an acceptable note for a religious accommodation. Okay, for an accommodation for religious reasons. Let me give you an example of one that would not be acceptable for a religious reason. It would say something like, due to religious reasons, my child cannot drink milk, must serve Kool-Aid. Okay, that one, any of these, you can call our office and we can provide you further direction on that. But as far as I know, and as far as the state office knows, is that there is no religion that does require Kool-Aid. Okay, and that's just an example. Okay, that's just an off the cuff example. So you guys, and you probably don't have that. And I've probably never seen that example. So that's just one that I came up with to illustrate this. Again, accommodations for medical reasons. And we're just going to review these because we've already gone over them. Program operators are required to provide substitutions. Okay. Your meals are reimbursable when it doesn't meet the meal pattern, if you have an approved a medical statement on file. Okay. No, the meal pattern, the overall meal pattern must still meet program requirements that fall outside the disability. For example, if your participant is allergic to wheat, and we get this quite often, we're seeing a lot of allergies to wheat. You can still choose a bread grain that is wheat free. Okay. So in this instance, you would not skip the bread grain category. Okay. Because there are other bread grains that are wheat free, mainly rice, brown rice, quinoa. And there's all sorts of types of wheat free crackers and breads out there now. Okay. So in the event that someone is allergic to a component, your substitution really does need to be within that same component category. Okay. If you have a child that is allergic to pineapple, you can substitute apples. You can substitute bananas. You can still substitute within that same category to where the overall meal pattern still applies. Next, the participant's family, and this is for an adult daycare. Or actually this will apply to both. So the participant's family may supply the substituted component as long as the facility provides at least one of the other required components. Okay, you can still claim that. And program operators may not require, okay, you cannot require the family to provide any of the required meal components. Again, any comments or questions? Next up, we're going to be going through a series of questions and answers. We're going to be going through probably 12 or 13, I believe, specific questions and answers that when USDA was updating this memo and updating this policy, they decided to put in this memo for additional clarification. And these are really good questions because we get calls very frequently about this. So question number 1, may a center or daycare add chocolate or strawberry syrup to unflavored milk and serve it to children 1 through 5 years old? Okay. So I'm hoping everybody is thinking, oh, no, because the answer to that is no. You cannot, for children 1 through 5, you cannot add any type of syrup or flavoring, okay, to any type of unflavored milk in our program. That is not allowed as part of a CACFP reimbursable meal for children 1 through 5. That's a big no-no. I did get the question that someone asked me recently that their child was 3 and 4 years of age, and they received the summer meal boxes as part of the summer feeding program. Okay. So I want you guys to realize that the summer feeding program, whenever you pulled through the schools or those summer meal boxes were provided for you, that is a different program. Okay. It is still under CACFP, but it is a different program and they have different rules. Okay. So some of that milk in there was flavored. However, it being a different program, they were allowed to do that. Okay. But under the CACFP, remember, 1 through 5 years old is not flavored. So question 2, fluid milk substitutes. Is an institution or facility required to provide a fluid milk substitute for a participant if it is not related to a disability? No, because it is not related to the disability. These institutions or facilities may decide whether or not to provide a fluid milk substitute. If it's a hardship on you, okay, you can require that the parents bring that. Okay. However, Food and Nutrition Services of USDA strongly encourages institutions and facilities to provide options that meet their preferences, but that is not required. So if it's for a non-disability reason, okay, or a non-religious reason, you are not required to provide that milk substitute. You can require the parent or guardian to bring that. Number 3, and we're asked this question a pretty good bit. Must fluid milk substitutes, okay, served to children 1 through 5 be unflavored? So this is your vanilla almond milks. This is your strawberry lactate milk. This is those flavored milk substitutes. So can you use flavored, must these things be unflavored? Yes. Okay. So watch the milk that is coming into the center, and that does need to be an unflavored milk. Okay. Unless you have a doctor's note specifically stating something different where you could claim it anyway. We don't argue with doctor's notes. That, you know, if it is, we've already said in this presentation, if it is not an acceptable fluid milk substitute and they have that doctor's note, then we leave that alone. We don't question doctor's notes or any type of medical statement. Then you would claim that anyway. Number 4, must fluid milk substitutes meet the fat content requirements of fluid milk? Okay, for example, if you have a 3-year-old, and normally 3-year-olds are required to have 1% or skim milk, must the fluid milk be 1% or skim? No. Okay. Fluid milk substitutes are not required to be low fat or fat free when served to children under 2 years of age, and older, and adults. In order for the non-dairy beverage to meet the nutrient requirement for fluid milk substitutes, they have to be fortified. Okay. And some fat is often needed to help mask the flavor of those nutrients and those vitamins that are added. Okay. Because all milk it needs to be fortified with those extra nutrients. And to ensure that institutions and facilities have access to a variety of fluid milk substitutes that are nutritionally equivalent, and to meet the special needs of these participants, so they're more likely to be met. There is not a fat standard for fluid milk substitutes. So basically, it can be any different fat level. Number 5, will institutions or facilities receive additional meal reimbursement if they provide a fluid milk substitute? No. Okay. So you guys know that your reimbursements are based on the child's status as free, reduced, or above, and their attendance and the number of meals that they eat. So you will not, if you provide, if you provide the substitutes, you will not receive any additional reimbursement for that. And as detailed in 7 CFR, and these are all regulations, okay? Institutions or facilities cannot require a parent or guardian to pay the difference, okay? So again, you can't charge them any more money if you provide the milk substitute. Moving on. Question 6. If a parent provides creditable fluid milk substitute, may the institution or facility serve it and still receive reimbursement? Yes. If a parent provides the fluid milk substitute that meets the nutritional standards, yes, you still can receive reimbursement for that. Okay. Again, you would, in kid care, you would just notate that allergy. You would notate that, and you would do the little slide bar that says parent provided. Okay. And you would document when that milk comes into your facility and how often that they provide that. You would go into your receipts and just act like you have a receipt enter it as 1 penny, and then document the amount of milk that's coming in. So if they bring a half gallon in on, today is December the 11th, you're going to go under receipts, you're going to go to add receipt, you're going to go to quick entry. Okay. And I hope all this sounds familiar to you guys. You're going to go to quick entry. You're going to put, you could create a vendor that says parent provided. You would put the total amount as 1 penny, 0.01, and you're going to go down to the bottom and document 0.5 gallons of special milk and hit save. And it's as easy as that. Tammy. Tammy is messaging me because she needs to correct me. And we do not create receipts for parent provided milk. So I apologize that I think I may have been telling you some outdated information. Tammy, can you come on?
So instead of creating receipts for parent-provided milk, under the child's page, there's a tab for where you would select special diet or milk allergy. You're going to mark the child as a milk allergy, whether it's an allergy or not. And then it's going to give you the option to select whether it's substitute milk or parent-provided milk. If it is substitute milk, that means you are providing it, and you're going to mark it as substitute milk. You'll still have to have receipts for it. And when you do your daily menu, you'll mark it as substitute milk. If it is parent provided milk, you're going to mark the child on that page there under the allergy tab as parent provided. You don't need to create receipts. When you're recording your daily menu for the amount served, you still have to record how much parent provided milk you served. But with the Kid Care made those adjustments to eliminate the need for creating receipts for the parent's milk.
And thank you so much, Tammy. I appreciate that. So again, do you guys have any questions on that? I stand corrected. And I am not too proud to stand corrected, I have to tell you. Tammy is our kid care guru, and I could not. Oh yes, Melanie, Tammy rocks. Oh my gosh. Our office could not function without Tammy. I have no problem telling y'all that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Tammy. I'm getting a bunch of direct messages to me. Oh my gosh, Tammy rocks. And how great Tammy is. I could not agree with that anymore. So let's continue on. Number 7. May a parent of a child aged 2 years old or older request for their child, or an adult participant may request it for themselves, to be served whole or reduced fat 2% milk? The answer to this question is no. Milk served to children 2 years old and older, okay, and adult participants must be low fat 1% or fat-free skim in order to be reimbursable. Any request for any type of higher fat milk must be made through a medical statement as related to a disability and signed by a state licensed healthcare professional or registered dietitian in order to be reimbursable. As in our state offices, we do see these things. It's not that often, but I can tell you I have seen both of these examples. In a child that needs more calories to help their growth or their failure to thrive, and they do need that higher fat content and higher calories. With a physician statement, again, that would be considered a disability, then that child would receive a whole milk. And then also, again, for an adult participant who may be going through some type of medical treatment or losing weight, they might require a higher fat milk. And with medical statements, that's not a problem, and you would still claim those. However, if it's just a preference, okay, then that would not be allowed. You would not be able to claim that. Okay, we have a question. Do we have to have papers from the doctors stating the child has allergies? Yes, absolutely. If the child, yes, any type of allergy or medical reason that the child would require something different than the required components, then yes, you have to have a medical statement backing that up. And you need that not only for our office, but you also need that for licensing. Okay, Ms. Georgia, does that make sense? So that answer to that is yes, you have to have a doctor's statement. Miss Jamie, your question. So if a parent provides milk due to an allergy, would they have to bring a receipt? No, they do not. Okay. And how would we note which milk is for which child if we did this? Okay, so it's probably as simple as taking a Sharpie and writing that child name on the carton of milk as to who it is for. Okay, so you could label and date that, and that would not, that's how you would do that. And that's how your kitchen staff would know which milk is for who. And again, if the parent provides that milk due to an allergy, of course not. They do not have to bring in a receipt. And as Tammy has clarified, that you do not create any type of receipt and add it to kid care. You would just fill out that it's parent provided under the child's information at the beginning. Tammy is typing, and Tammy, feel free to come back on. You can come in and out.
I'm on the phone.
Oh, Tammy, multitasking. That's why she's as good as she is. Okay, so Tammy replied to everyone the same way you keep up with what formula is for what infant. Okay. And then again, no receipts are needed from the center or the parent for the parent-provided milk. Ms. Kenyatta, your question. What if they are requesting a lower fat milk? For example, instead of whole milk 1%, will they need a doctor's note? Yes. If that child is 1 year old, 12 months to 24 months, they need to be on the whole milk. That higher fat in that milk is needed for their brain development. And that is a requirement from the American Association of Pediatrics. So they do need whole milk. Now, if there is a medical reason why that child needs a lower fat milk, then again, a doctor's note would exempt you from this criteria, and you could still claim that meal. Okay. So all you would need was a doctor or medical provider's note, and you would do what that note said. You could provide that 1 year old with a lower fat content milk. Okay. But again, you guys need these medical statements. Okay. You need that as proof of what you're doing. Okay. You guys don't want that liability in case someone tries to come back and say you served the wrong milk. And you keep this documentation and pull it out and say, oh no, this was requested by a physician. Okay. Or this is the medical documentation, which allows us to make this alteration in the meal components. Excellent questions. Number 8, if a parent agrees to provide fluid milk substitute, but brings in one that does not meet the nutritional standards, may the institution or facility serve it and still receive reimbursement? And again, this is a parent preference, not a disability. Okay. So if it's a parent preference and they want to bring in some pea milk, for example, and it's flavored or it doesn't provide enough protein, it doesn't meet the guidelines, then no, you can't serve it. Okay. And you can't claim that meal. So institutions should inform parents or guardians of what is acceptable. Okay. And you can pull down a copy of this presentation and a copy of what is required and hand it to them. So where they know what to purchase that is still going to meet their child's nutrient needs. Number nine falls under the compliance category. When submitting menus for review, do institutions and facilities need to document the type of milk that they serve? Yes. Okay. Yes, you do. Institutions and facilities must document the type of milk that is served on their menus. Okay. The menu needs to indicate the fat content of the milk. Okay. It is the responsibility of the state agency to further ensure that that you guys you're serving the correct type of milk. In kid care is only going to list 1% whole, substitute, and parent provided, and this is per state guidance. Okay. So what is listed in kid care will suffice. Okay. And so that is good enough. And that was a decision made on the state agency level. Okay. Miss Ford, I see your question here. And it says, some of your parents want you guys to give them juice instead of milk to their children. What do we do if that happens? Okay. So, to be on the CACFP, you can only serve juice once a day. And you have to serve accreditable milk at breakfast and lunch. Okay. So if they're wanting you to serve juice in place of milk or juice more often, you cannot do that. Okay. You cannot do that at a breakfast, lunch, or a snack. Okay. If you choose to serve juice outside of those meal periods, that is up to you. Okay. But you can only serve juice once a day as part of a breakfast, a lunch, or a snack. And Miss Rose, if the parents get a statement that milk gives the child diarrhea, how often should that statement be updated? That's a very good question, Miss Rose. I would ask that parent. All of these statements honestly need to be updated annually, but I would ask that statement, is this going to give the child diarrhea in forever? Okay, meaning a true allergy or whatever, or is this just a one-time thing? You're going to have some clarification on that statement. So I would send that parent back to the medical provider to get some clarification on that. Okay, Miss Ford, Miss Georgia, if you serve juice, we won't be reimbursed for that whole meal. No, ma'am. You will not. You will not. And are you telling me that you are going to serve juice in place of the milk? And then again, remember, you really can't serve two fluids as a snack. So you can't serve, a milk and a juice at snack. So, maybe you should call us, Miss Georgia. Give me a minute. You can call me, but you need to give me a minute after 2:00 to wrap up this presentation, because I have a lot more questions about that. About where, when, and why. Okay, Miss Toby, I see your question. You have a question about formula. Okay, the health department told us that we must serve only ready to feed formula, and you have an infant that is on a specific formula that does not come in ready to feed, and the health department is okay with parents bringing in bottles already prepared. The parent is okay with my screen jumped. The parent is okay with bringing the bottles already prepared. Your question is, can we claim that milk? Currently, we are not claiming that child's meals in early Head Start. So, Ms. Toby, you have type in, let me know the age of that infant. Okay. Okay, Ms. Georgia, you have the answers. You were just asking it for everyone else on the call. We appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Toby, I'm going to come back to your question. I want to continue on with this because it is 1:55, and I want to be considerate of everyone's time here. We have one question left. So this question, number 10, if a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old child sit together at the same meal, must they be served different types of milk? Yes. Children 2 years and older have to be a 1% skim, and that 1-year-old needs whole milk. Okay. So what we normally see in these centers that we go in, is that the the cooks or whoever's in the kitchen pouring up the milk will have different types of cups, okay, or a cup labeled for the 1-year-old, or your 2-year-olds would have normal cups, and then the 1-year-old might have a sippy cup. There's some sort of way that you guys, your staff differentiates the whole milk from the 1% and the skim. Okay. And that's how they know. And that's how, that's how they ensure that the correct type of milk goes to the correct age children. That's also how they know the type, that's also how they know the correct quantity of milk. And that's how they ensure that they're serving enough milk. Okay, it is 1:57. This brings us to the end of our presentation today. As always, this is how you contact us. This is everybody on the CACFP side. This is our email addresses, our phone numbers. Also, our fax number is up on there as well. So anytime you guys need to contact us, please do so. Okay. And then what happens next? If you were on this presentation today, this live presentation, give me by Friday. Over the next couple of days, you will see an email with a link to the webinar recording and to the handouts. And I am including a handout that's got a decision tree on it of how do you make decisions. And it is a wonderful handout by the National CACFP organization. So I hope you guys use that. And if you're attending this live and you registered correctly with your own individual email per person, and you have stayed on this training for at least 75% of its duration, you will receive a clock hours email from me on Friday. And it's your responsibility to retain these. Okay. I don't need any emails. You guys don't put your emails in this chat because it's going to clog up the chat. And I already have the email when you registered. Okay, Miss Toby, don't go anywhere because I want you to say the baby is 7 or 8 months old. Okay, so yes, the baby's 7 or 8 months old. You can provide the other 2 components for that meal, and yes, you claim that child. Okay, so if that child is receiving that formula, we do have health departments, and they are working with us right now. And they've included us in on some meetings. So we're trying to work with them about that. But yes, they are telling us that formulas do need to be ready to feed. And the child is 7 to 8 months old. So that means they need 2 other components. So if you're providing the 2 other components, which generally is a cereal and then a baby food, fruit, or a vegetable, then yes, you do claim that child. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Any other questions? We are at 1:59 p.m. and this officially ends our training for today. So if you guys need to jump off, I want to be considerate of your time. You may do so. So have a great afternoon. Thank you, Ms. Toby. I will remain on for another 4 or 5 minutes just in case anybody needs anything. Miss Georgia, if I've answered your question, you don't have to call me. You're welcome, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Miss Tanya, everybody in the program is going to get the email from our office. It's going to have the link to the Fit Kids website, and you will be able to watch the recording and get the handouts. So no worries.